Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I am Caspian and I read a lot of books, mainly library books. And I'm here for a reading update today. Out of the 4 books that I'm going to talk about today, I read one completely in October. I read one mostly in October, but I finished it on the 1st of November. And then the other 2 books I've read in November. So, 2 of these I think were on my November TBR in that video. So, I'm gonna talk briefly about my book club book. I have a book club on Fable in Swedish, and we read this book in September and October. And this is a book by Alberto Villoldo, because we read books with shamanic content or like witchcraft and that sort of thing. And the original title of this book is Mending the Past and Healing the Future with Soul Retrieval. And this is it. And it's 20 years old, so this came out 20 years ago. And I'm gonna try and be brief. And so my overall view on this is that I gave it like a 3-star rating. Mainly because there were so many repetitions. And I have read one book from him before, and this was like, there were so many things that I recognized, and it's not a long book, it's barely 200 pages. So even though I understand that some of it needed to be in here because of the purpose of this book, it still felt like there were too many repetitions, and he used the same personal anecdotes in this one as in the previous one, mostly the same personal anecdotes. And those I think you could kinda maybe change up when you write another book, because that made it feel like, okay, here we are again, it's the same book as last, you know? And then I'm not really a fan of all of the religious content in it. And when I say religious content, I mean that I think that Alberto must have like a Catholic background and then went into shamanism, or he's targeting a group of people that used to be Catholic or Christian and now have entered into shamanism. He is based in the US, and this is a book about Kira medicine from South America. So I can see that kinda, but none of that resonates with me. So I'm here for the shamanic content, not for every time he compares it to something within Christianity or the Catholic religion. And all of those stories, together with his personal anecdotes that I had read before, kind of made this book not just be boring in a way, but it was like frustrating at times. Now to the things that I did appreciate or thought was actually good in this book. Actually, I think it served its purpose. So the purpose of the book is to take you from knowing very little to hopefully being able to do some light soul retrieving practices. I think that's the purpose. And he took you there. So he did take you on that journey, and there were some practices in this that I think were good. I didn't do them because once again, some of them had already been in a previous book, and I tried those exercises when I read that book. So it was like, in Sweden we call it cake on cake when it's the same, you know, no different. So it did serve its purpose, and if you've never read any book of his and you have this at home, sure, read it. If you've never read a book by him and you feel like, oh, that sounds interesting, then I would urge you, or encourage you to look up a newer book, because this is 20 years old and he has come further in his practice than he was at 20 years ago. And I know this because I took a course with him a few years back, and there's a lot of difference between this and the course that I took. So I know that he has, evolved, and I'm sure that his newer books have evolved as well. Like his writing has evolved, and what things he put in it hopefully has evolved. So I would try and look up newer books by him, and try like the newest book with the purpose that you wanna get into, like with the part of shamanism that you wanna get into. So I did think it served its purpose, and yeah, that's kind of it. I think I actually wanted to give it like 2.75 stars or something like that. I think I might have liked it a little bit more if it was the first book I read by him, but I still was no fan of all of the connection to religion. And this book was older than the other book I read, and it wasn't as filled with religious comparisons in the newer book. There were like 2 or 3 instances, and this was packed with it. So yeah, not a fave. I'm not gonna keep it. I'm not gonna keep it. And then we get to a book that I had hoped to finish in October, but I finished it on the 1st of November. And that is The Buried Giant by Kazuo Ishiguro. And this was the poll pick from my October TBR. So I set up a poll here on YouTube a few weeks back, and I picked this book because of that poll. So this was not at all as I imagined. I don't know what I imagined. I had read one other book by Kazuo Ishiguro before. It was Never Let Me Go, and I love that one. I've read it like 3 times, and so I did enjoy this one. I think I gave it 4 stars, and a strong 4 stars. I think the one thing that kept me from giving it a 5-star rating was that I didn't really think about it between reading sessions. I have thought about it since finishing it though. It's been a week now, so I have thought about it since then. So that's a good sign. That kind of solidifies the rating for me. So in this book we follow 2 elderly people, like an elderly couple, when they set out on a journey to find the village where their son is living. And in the village that they live, where they come from, there's this mist, they call it, that makes people forget each other things. As soon as something is kind of out of sight, it's out of mind. Even when children go, to play outside in the day, the parents forget that they even have children. And then when the children comes back in the evening, they're like, oh, there you are. But they have no idea that the children has been kind of missing for the entire day. So they want to do 2 things. They want to finally find their son's village, because they do have a faint recollection of having a son and that he lives in a village. And they think that they can find their way there. And the woman, because it's a man and a woman, and the woman also wants to understand this mist. And she thinks that they might understand it along the way. So we get to follow them, and then they meet some people that help them along the way. And I don't want to spoil it, because I do think it's good. I would read it again, and I would read it again, I think, in a few years, and see what I feel about it, because it's clear that this has depth. It's really about losing memory and getting closer to the end of your life, and figuring out regrets, and coping with losing your memory, maybe. and coping with getting older and that sort of thing. It kind of reminded me of the Memory Police, but I didn't enjoy the Memory Police that much. In the way it kind of dealt with this subject of memory fading in a way, in different ways. So in one way in that book, in one way in this book, that's what I mean. But it reminded me of that, and yeah, I think it handled that subject very delicately, and like halfway, it took me half of the book to understand the book. And that's fine, it has some depth, and it wasn't like I was bored or I was frustrated, because sometimes books have like almost riddles, and you're like, what am I missing? But with this book, it just took me some time, and then when I have gotten like halfway, I could understand the ending. I was like, oh no, it's the end of life. Oh, I really thought that, okay, I'm gonna have to cope with losing these people at the end of the book. So, yeah, it has a lot of depth and a lot of metaphors, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of what I want to say about this book. And then the next book I read in 2 days. I think I started it in the evening after I had finished that book, the other book. I started it in the evening of the first, and I finished it on the second. It's a short book. It's What Moves the Dead by Kingfisher. It's the first book in the Sworn Soldier series, I think. And I want to read the second book soon, and next time I go to the library, I think I'm gonna go look up if they have maybe both. I think there's a second and a third book in this series. Okay, so in this book we follow Alex. Alex is a soldier that has gotten a letter that their friend, or Khan's friend, pronouns. The author is playing around with pronouns, and if you're a soldier, no matter your gender, you are Khan and Khans. So I think I'm gonna use that. So Alex is a soldier and has received a letter that Khan's friend Madeline is ill, and Khan sets out to go to the home. It's called the Ushers, I think. Yeah, the House of Usher, I think it's called their home. It's like a big castle-like thing. I think it's a castle or a fort or something like that, with big surroundings. And when Khan gets there, it really looks weird, and there's a weird like smell in the air, and there's a weird ambiance, and Khan meets a woman in the woods outside of the Usher's home, and that woman is an English woman with an interest in fungi, and she sits and draws fungi, and so they talk about that. And then Khan gets to the home of the Usher, and in this book it's like they're trying to understand, Alex is trying to understand the illness that has gripped Madeline, and Khan is also figuring out if the brother of Madeline has the same illness or a version of it. And there's also a doctor that has gotten there like a week before Alex, and they are trying to find out what's happened, and Alex doesn't want Madeline to die, of course. And the further we get into the book, the more horror we meet, because this is really a horror. It's gory, it's wicked, it's horrible, but it's amazingly written. It's so amazingly written because I could visualize everything that happened, but I didn't dream about it in the night. Because when something is like so tangible when you read it. Like, you can really visualize it. I usually take that with me into my dreams, and I dream nightmares. But with this, it was like there was still a distance. I think it might have been because we were with Alex most of the time. So from that perspective, we didn't really get to, the gore wasn't on or in us readers when we follow Alex. So yeah, it was. I'm not gonna talk more about the story, but I gave it a 5-star, and I was really eager to read the next one. I have no idea if the next one is a continuation or if it's like other people in the same kind of world, but the front of the book is really telling. It's really a lot of fungi in this book, and it's rabbits, and the rabbits or hares are so horrible. They could have haunted my dreams for a long time if things were worse. Really, really they could have. And I think it's a retelling of a book called The House of Usher. I haven't read that one, but I want to now. The last book I'm going to talk about, I finished yesterday. And that is, it's taking me 5 days to read this one. It's the last book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And it's the third and last book. And it's called As Good as Dead. I think it might be hard to read on this cover. And I annotated, or like, there's a lot of tabs. So, okay, this book. I don't really know what to think. I gave it 4 stars when I rated it yesterday, but I don't know where it's gonna land. I think it's gonna take some time for me to really digest this, because the first half of the book I was like, how can this possibly be this long? Because the story that we were following in the first half of the book, I was like, this can end at any time. It can have a resolution in the next 10 pages, and I would be fine with it. Why on earth is it 560 pages long? In the first, like, third and half of the book, I was like, it can end at any time. No problem. Why is it so long? And then when we kind of tipped over like the halfway mark, and we got into another story, I still felt along the way that it could end at any turn, and it would have been a satisfying ending, but it kept on churning on with new twists and new turns, and at every twist and turn I was like, no, Pip, no, what are you doing? You don't need to do that. You can just, most of the time I was just like, you can just walk away. You don't need to. That's not your responsibility. That's not on you. Why are you involved in this? What are you doing? Why aren't you doing this? And I actually filmed like 6 minutes of myself yesterday just complaining about how she handles something. I was gonna post like a complete spoiler at page 288. No, 488 I think it was. And where I was like, why is she doing this? Why didn't she do this? Because she did something that was so completely out of character. And I was like, she's lost her fighting spirit. Why has she lost her fighting spirit? This is not the time to lose the fighting spirit. We have 80 pages left, Pip. What are you doing? So at one point I was like, okay, I know where this is going. She wanted to go that way, but she's gonna get in more trouble. He's gonna come back and bite her. I can see it happening. And then it did, but then it continued on. And I was like, how is this continuing on? So I think I admire the author for all the twists and turns, and for really making this book so long and exhaustive. Is that a word? Like, she really, she was really milking it. That's what I'm getting at. She was really milking it. And yeah, in a way that when I read it, I was like, oh no, not another twist and turn. Pip, 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 you know, or Pip, come here, I'll give you a hug. You don't have to. Come here, come here. I'll hold you a bit. Let Ravi hold you a bit. Listen to Ravi. Listen to Ravi. But afterwards, I think I admire the writing and the story. And it's a YA. It says over here in Swedish, ung. So it's YA, and it's a really easy read. The difference between this one and the other two books is that there weren't as much mixed media, because this was more focused on Pip's own journey, and the other two books were more focused on cases outside of herself. So I don't want to talk too much about this book and what it was about, but on the back it says, Pip Fitzamobi is haunted by her last investigation, but soon a new case finds her, and this time it's all about Pip. She has a stalker, one who keeps asking, who will look for you when you're the one who disappears? So, yeah, she has a stalker, and that's kind of what we get to follow in the first half of the book, and then we think it's resolving, and it goes deeper into another case and a connection to that, and that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's really worth reading if you have read the first two books, I would say. So I will give this a 4-star rating, I think. So yeah, those are the 4 books that I recently finished. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you have read any of these books, tell me what you thought about it. Were you as frustrated with Pip as I was? Were you as invested in this as I was? Did you enjoy The Buried Giant? Did you not? Tell me why. Yeah, and I will see you soon. Xingling.